All right, lift off and the clock has started.
Hey everyone, I'm Tom June and welcome back to UK Space News. Now, we'll start this week with an update from Saxavord, the spaceport up in Shetland. As we know, over the past few months, work's been progressing amazingly quickly, and they're ahead of schedule already. But this past week, they shared an exciting video on completion of what looks to be the start of the main launch tower at Launchpad Fredo. Launchpad Fredo is, of course, the first of 3 proposed launch pads up at the site, and as we can see from the video, the steelworks have already gone into place for the launch tower. Now, this is really exciting news because it means that the launch pad is on course for completion at some point over the next few months. I don't imagine that a taller section of the tower is the next bit to go into place, as well as updates on the buildings and other pieces of critical infrastructure. Now, Saxavord can accommodate multiple different types of launch vehicles, including from companies who bring their own mobile launch facilities, such as Skyrora, but the inclusion of a launch tower here certainly indicates that they're ready for bigger operations. Or so you might think. Because this past week it was announced that Rocket Factory Augsberg from Germany have secured exclusive rights to use Launchpad Fredo. Now, you might find it strange that RFA have secured the exclusive rights to use this launchpad, and to be honest with you, so am I. This one has kind of come out of the blue. But, as we know, and as we've discussed on this channel, ABL Systems and Lockheed Martin were due to have the first launch from Saxavord with ABL's RS1 rocket. Now, there was a further launch attempt made by ABL, but again, approximately 12 to 15 seconds after launch, for some unknown reason, there was an anomaly and the rocket failed and crashed back down near the launch pad. So the news for ABL just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And as early as last week, I'd said that we could expect to see launches start taking place from Shetland as early as late March or even into April of this year. With the news that RFA have now secured the exclusive rights to use Fredo, that's not going to be happening. What RFA have said is that they're on course to perform their maiden flight at the end of the year. Now, their rocket's quite interesting because it's a 3-stage rocket capable of putting about 1,500 kilograms into low Earth orbit. The interesting thing, though, is that they use closed cycle engines, and their propellants are RP1 and liquid oxygen. As we know, closed cycle engines are quite difficult to manufacture, so with a realistic timescale for the maiden flight of this rocket, I'm a bit more hopeful of this one, and we'll certainly keep an eye on progress as the year goes on. Yep, it's certainly something to be hopeful for towards the end of the year, but we're right at the beginning and we would have looked forward to something a bit sooner. Work will still continue, of course, on the second launch pad, so you never know. Like I said last week, a company like Skyrora could quite easily step in and have a launch of their Skylark L. Now, speaking of Skyrora, a further blow to them this past week, as it was announced that Lee Rosen, who only joined from SpaceX 6 months ago, is leaving the company for, quote, personal reasons, and is going to be returning to California. I don't know what that says about the operations at Skyrora at the moment. We certainly know that they are reporting a loss for this past quarter, and their income streams, their revenue has not been as high as expected. Taking a look at some of the financial figures for the rocket companies in the UK, we can see that Orbex, their main competitor in Scotland, they had a total funding of £115 million, but Skyrora are quite far down, and their investments only total between 15 and 20 million. Now, for anyone that is interested in the financials of putting a rocket into space, a 3-stage orbital class rocket will probably cost you in the region of about £100 million to be able to launch just one. So, doubly not good news for Skyrora. The real reasons for Lee Rosen leaving may very well be, shrouded in secrecy and non-disclosure agreements, but, for somebody of his pedigree and standing within the spaceflight community, that's really not a good sign. So potentially not all is well inside Skyrora, and we're just going to have to stand by and wait for further updates from them. Now, not to get all doom and gloom, but if you do like what you see here on UK Space News, don't forget to hit that like button and consider subscribing for future UK spaceflight news updates. That being said, one of the other missions that we were really looking forward to here on this channel was the UK Pathfinder mission launched by Lockheed Martin. That mission was supposed to launch on ABL's RS1, but it has been pushed back yet again, and we can now expect a launch to take place no sooner than 2025. The reasons for the delay aren't immediately known, but we'll just have to wait into 2025 now before that launch takes place. Now, if you want updates on the Virgin Orbit launch, I have made a separate video for that entirely, where we reach a conclusion as to whether that really was such a bad thing for the UK space industry. You'll have to watch right to the end to find out what conclusions I drew on that one. In what's not been such a great week for the UK space industry, we can only remain hopeful. Still, there was some good progress made up at Saxavord in Shetland, and I can't wait until we see the first rockets taking off from that spaceport. But until next time, I've been Tom June, and thanks for watching.